Bonjour à tous, je m'appelle Karin Vogt, je suis professeure d'université à l'université pédagogique de Heidelberg en Allemagne et je vais vous donner une présentation sur l'analyse des besoins et conception d'une stratégie de formation. Malheureusement, mon français académique n'est plus courant pour une présentation dans un cadre académique et donc elle sera en anglais. Je m'en excuse. We're going to go for part one, the setting, and here you can see that teachers fulfill a variety of roles. They impart knowledge and skills, they educate learners, they instill values. They are facilitators, change agents, motivators, experts in their field, and these are only a few of the roles and responsibilities that they have and the expectations that they have to meet in this group of stakeholders is confronted with. And in a dynamic and rapidly changing world, including the world of education that is supposed to prepare learners for this world, teachers need to assure themselves of their professional competence to be up to this challenge. And the question is, how do we know what type of professional development defined by Postholm as teachers learning, how they learn to learn, and how do they learn to learn, and how they apply their knowledge and practice to support pupil learning? The question is, what professional strategy is needed to meet those continuously changing demands of a modern and innovative educational system? So one possible starting point is the analysis of the training needs of teachers. And in the present paper, I would like to share both research results as well as practical insights on needs analysis for teachers' professional development from two perspectives. One is the award-winning EU-funded project TAIL, standing for Teachers Assessment Literacy Enhancement, from the domain of foreign language teacher professional development, in which an evidence-based needs analysis for a specific field of in-service teacher training was designed and implemented. And I shared details from this project from the perspective of a researcher and developer. And my other capacity is that of a university-based administrator who, as the head of the central unit called Professional School, will share experience and good practice from a more systemic perspective. So I will relate the system of needs analysis that is applied for regional in-service teacher training provided by my university. And after a brief consideration of terminology, relevant theoretical concept of needs analysis, the role of teachers' training needs in the development of teachers' professional competence will be highlighted. And then I'll present you with a typology of methods to identify training needs and the methods and results of training needs analysis from the TAIL project, as well as insights from needs analysis procedures at professional school will be showcased. And in the third step, I'll detail how the needs analyses in the respective fields were used to design a training strategy that is based on real demand and how it was evaluated. So let's move on to part two, needs analysis, the what and the why. Teachers' professional practice is influenced by their professional competence. And according to Kunter and others, effective professional practice is determined by teachers' instructional activities and activities aimed at improving teachers' qualifications in the long term. And their competence development is an ongoing process that has to be seen in the light of lifelong learning, comprising both informal elements such as classroom practice or informal conversations with colleagues, and also more formal forms of professional development such as in-service teacher training. Lipovsky, 2020, maintains that effective teachers' professional development is crucial to an improving and improved quality of teaching and consequently student learning outcomes. So he and his colleague have summarized the characteristics of effective professional development, which I would like to summarize here as well. Effective professional development facilitates learning in professional communities, in the communities of practice. It allows teachers to experience the impact of their pedagogical actions, starting with small steps in limited domain-specific settings, maybe subject-specific settings. It integrates research findings in the conceptualization of professional development activities, something that we've also tried to implement. It enables coaching as element and feedback as important element, and focuses on students' domain-specific processes of learning and understanding. And it combines and relates phases of input, practice, and reflection. And in order to enable the above, in order to implement those phases of input, practice, and reflection, it is sufficiently comprehensive. So in the design of effective professional development activities, taking into account teachers' training needs is relevant as a starting point. Identifying the training needs of teachers in designing professional development activity helps providing high quality learning opportunities that are geared to their needs and wants. And it also, the chances of individual active and reflective uptake as one precondition of for the development of teaching competence increase. And this can lead to improved learning outcomes. It also is a means of empowering teachers and increases their self-efficacy. Because training, if training needs analysis is conducted by including teachers' voices. This definition here derives from the domain of foreign language teaching, and in particular, languages for specific purposes. And in this area that represents one of my research interests, identifying needs is central for course design. Also the multidimensional character of needs on the micro level of the school, for example, the micro level of the teaching situation, the meso level of the school, and the macro level of the district or society at large, that can be transferred easily to teacher education and professional development. So in this context and in accordance with Brown, I would like to adapt a teaching definition of needs analysis and professional development that entails a systematic collection of subjective and objective information that is necessary to identify and validate defensible and sustainable curriculum purposes for professional development that satisfy the learning requirements of the involved teachers in the context of the respective education institutions, and those influence the learning and teaching situation. Now let's move on to the how of needs analysis. And there seems to be overall a paucity of research on needs analysis and professional development. And again, I would like to draw from the field of languages for specific purposes to present a typology of research methods in needs analysis and adapt it to our purposes. So we can see here that non-experts and expert intuitions might have the advantage of being low cost and low effort, but they tend to be unreliable and are definitely not evidence-based. They are not systematic enough. Literature research is also low cost and low effort, depending on the literature, gives selective insights only. Unstructured interviews have an exploratory character, and in that they might be able to provide new aspects that the researcher hadn't thought of previously. However, they are time consuming. They can only reach a limited number of informants. There might be interviewer bias involved, and there's a limited comparability and generalizability because of the limited number of informants. Structured interviews are low cost and low effort. They reach potentially many informants. They might also yield standardized data. And since they are standardized, they have a lower risk of bias. And the possible comparability chances and chances for generalizability are greater. However, since they are standardized, important aspects might be neglected and might not be considered. And there is no flexibility to do so. Surveys and questionnaire are also low cost and low effort, or relatively low cost and relatively low effort. They also reach potentially many informants, They have standardized a substantial amount of data as possible, which is good news for comparability and generalizability. So you get a bigger picture, so to say, which might be more valid and more reliable due to the standardized nature of the questionnaire. It also gives you possible anonymity. Sorry about the typo here. As disadvantages, you have little flexibility. There are low response rates. The experience shows that sometimes as little as 10% response rates, and there's a limited range of responses. Diaries, journals, and logs would consider teachers' experiences in the form of diaries and or journals or logs, and thus give personalized insights into teachers' needs. They also give access to insider knowledge on the micro level. However, they are time consuming, and since they are personalized insights, they might be impressionistic and yield idiosyncratic data that is not really comparable. So what we have seen is that there's a point maybe for combining methods of needs analysis research. And I would like to continue to share the methodological approaches in the TAIL project and the methodological approaches to needs analysis at professional school. So in order to arrive at a reliable and evidence-based needs analysis in the TAIL project, a three-stage mixed methodology approach was pursued. Consists of informal expert knowledge and in the various educational contexts, because it was an international project, literature research, and a questionnaire survey of two groups of stakeholders, teachers and learners. Expert knowledge was drawn from the members of the consortium and their networks. There were researchers, teacher educators, and all former teachers. Many of them were involved in teacher professional development. And literature research focused particularly on teacher education standards and assessment. That was the focus of the project. And informed the subsequent design of the teacher questionnaire survey of the two groups of stakeholders. I'm going to focus on the teacher questionnaire now, the training needs. So the questionnaire was supposed to gauge teachers' assessment practices, their current levels of confidence in previously defined relevant areas of language testing and assessment, the subject-specific field, domain-specific field, and their training needs from that perspective, from the teacher's perspective. In terms of questionnaire design, the standards for teacher competence in educational assessment by the American Federation of Teachers, and then the updated standards by the Joint Committee for Standards on Standards for Education, 2015, were used as a theoretical basis and then as an underlying construct of the questionnaire. And that was complemented by the language-specific items informed by the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. And so they were translated into questionnaire items in the teacher questionnaire, and in the section of teachers' confidence levels and also in the section on training needs and other aspects from the CFR, for example, and more subject-specific related competencies were also added. So the intersection between the needs suggested by the researchers and the needs that the informants brought up determined the design of the training strategy in the subsequent phase of the TAIL project. So in addition, the informants were asked about their preference for and experience in digital modes of learning and forms of delivery of the training in terms of training formats. Because we wanted, in this part of the questionnaire, we wanted to ensure that the training format of the planned digital course would be suited to their learning preferences on the one hand, and also their requirements, as well as be adapted to their prior technical experience, because it was supposed to be in self-access course, so it had to be easy access. And we wanted to involve a maximum number of potential participants, including those with low technological skills. Needs analysis for professional development activity applied for regional in-service teacher training at my university is evidence-based as well, with questionnaires being embedded in a network of information exchange with regional school authorities, expert knowledge by university lecturers, and the teachers in our networks, many of which are involved as mentors in the university's teaching practice placements for pre-service teachers. So this type of needs analysis is more comprehensive than the tail needs analysis, in that it addresses teachers' professional development needs across school types and subjects. It also embraces the principle of including current research results, as it's based on a cooperation with the university, a form of professional development that Lipovsky and Zizek regard as a viable way of ensuring effective professional development activities. We still lack empirical evidence on this, granted, but the experience that we have accumulated over decades now is overwhelmingly positive. So for this type of needs analysis, an online questionnaire is sent out to head teachers at mainstream schools in the region. And in 2019, that was 649 schools on a yearly basis. Owing to teachers' extremely busy schedules, the questionnaire is brief. It asks about the training needs for head teachers and for staff in domain-specific, subject didactic, and interdisciplinary areas, and about specific topics for which the head teachers have identified a need for professional development. Apart from topic or areas, the training formats that the head teachers wish for their activities play an important role in this questionnaire in order to suggest realistic activities that are actually attended by teachers because they deem them relevant. Formats range from individual workshops, half day, full day, several days, to or series of workshops, to webinars or blended learning. And finally, head teachers are asked to identify the biggest challenge that their school and their staff are currently facing, with answers that indicate topics to be dealt with in the mid to long term, for our information as well. Among the results from 2019, for example, range change management processes, digitalization, or dealing with institutional constraints or difficult working conditions. Now, how do we implement results in a training strategy then? In the TAIL project, the results on the content areas were worked in the online course and or the handbook. We had two kind of outputs, the online course and the handbook, as a PDF or as a printed document. The course was organized in several independent modules. Then that made it possible for participants to choose. It allowed prioritization, and it also allowed a flexible approach to the professional development in teachers' busy schedules. That was a point that was very important for us. And the format of the teaching strategy was also adapted to needs that were voiced by the teachers. They wanted online materials, they wanted self-access material rather than printed materials, they wanted self-access material, practical materials, and they also wished for discussions with colleagues in the forum. And the results inform both training strategy as a mix of interactive and self-study units. During the piloting phase, we also had face-to-face elements sometimes, depending on the context, and the online activities. They wanted short films, hands-on activities with practical materials, reflection, discussion opportunities with international colleagues in the forum, and trying out materials in their own teaching. So this is the Wordle here, the key points of the needs analysis that I put in the Wordle. In professional school, based on the results of the needs analysis, at professional school, the relevant expertise is identified in the university. For example, in-house experts, external experts, who can deliver theoretically based but practically oriented training. For example, experts for digital learning, heterogeneity, dealing with disruptive behavior in the classroom. These were all voiced as areas for professional development needs. cooperation in multi-professional teams. The training format is left to experts at this point, as designing and implementing in-service teacher training is not compulsory for university lecturers. And then there's a portfolio that comes into being in this way. And this, of course, is in different formats. And this is offered to regional school authorities. And they commission the professional development activity. For example, we had activities that were called disruptive behavior in the classroom. We had several webinars on digital learning. In addition, the results of the needs analysis are presented in a joint committee that consists of professional school representatives of the school authorities, and staff council representatives in order to inform decisions on centrally offered professional development activities, because professional school is just one player who offers professional development activities. The strategy itself is rather central and is done by the school authorities. So part 4 is about how well did the implementation work. And again, I would like to share results from professional school and also from the TAIL project. So how well did it work, or does it work? What's the procedure at professional school? We run continuous evaluations of our professional development activities, but we do not do any research on them. So generally, we ask participants to evaluate the activities as a quality assurance measure and share the results with our instructors. On the basis of the results of the evaluation, we decide whether to offer the activity again, whether to change the lecturer or keep the lecturer, whether to ask him or her to change the course materials, the syllabus, or in accordance with participants' comments. This is the practice that we have at professional school. In the TAIL project, we have substantial data from the piloting phase of the online course, and we asked 76 in-service teachers and 20 pre-service teachers. The in-service teachers came from across Europe and beyond Europe, around the world really, and 20 pre-service teachers with a questionnaire survey. And we had, in total, we had 253 responses. Sometimes double responses, of course, with concerning the different courses. You will see that in a minute. And we had additional qualitative data from teachers and from the evaluation sections of the individual modules. So the questionnaire asked whether the course met the teachers' expectations. They asked about the nature of the tasks that were employed, whether they were appropriate, the level of difficulty of the activities, whether that was appropriate, the relevance to their own teaching context, and also the applicability and practicability of 2 concrete teaching contexts. The results indicate that the course was relevant for and applicable to the informants' teaching context. Expectations were met overall, informants found tasks worthwhile overall, and there was an appropriate level of difficulties, of course, to varying degrees in the different modules, because we asked for the different course modules separately. The qualitative evaluation data came from comments that the teachers offered in the piloting phase and as part of the module evaluation activities. And one German teacher, for example, I'd like to share some of these with you. One German teacher, for instance, said, I really liked the videos throughout the courses, which were very stimulating and kept me interested. And we made a point of having short videos, like 5-minute videos. And in one Greek teacher made the comment on one module and said, I also liked reading other colleagues' views on giving feedback. That was the course that he or she commented on, because they left comments in the discussion forum. And in their comments, the teachers did not only reflect on their learning outcomes, but also on aspects of the course, and also they compared their respective educational contexts, such as one Spanish teacher said, the systemic problems he, another teacher, mentioned in Greece mirror the ones present in Spain. And then there was a comparison that was following. So the qualitative data give highly interesting insights into the content and structure of the PD activity itself, but also invited teachers to reflect and compare other aspects that were not course related regarding themselves as a community of practice. And that might be something that might facilitate collaborative learning in professional communities and might also enhance feelings of teacher self-efficacy. I'm going to quickly share with you the results of the questionnaire. You can see that on this question, the content of the course met my expectations. You can see a lot of agree on the Likert scale from 1, strongly disagree, to 5, strongly agree. We've got a lot of blue, agree, and a lot of purple, strongly agree, of course, to varying degrees in the different courses, but we were quite happy to see this. So the content of the course met the expectations. I'm moving on to, these are the different courses: ABCs of assessment, introduction course, then alternatives in assessment, feedback in assessment, test impact, listening, reading, speaking, writing. And relating to all of those courses that we asked for individually, I found the task interesting and enjoyable. A lot of turquoise now for agree. So overall, they were interesting and enjoyable. And the difficulty level seems to be okay as well. So lots of blue again for agree, some purple for strongly agree, and of course some disagree as well, but depending on the course. And they were relevant to my teaching context. We were quite happy about this finding, that lots of blue and purple again on the relevance of the tasks for the teaching context, applicability, relevance, and applicability. Again, I think I could use what I've learned in this course with my learners. A lot of blue and purple again for agree and strongly agree. We were quite happy about this as well. Which brings me to my conclusion now. So the two approaches to needs analysis here are, that are depicted here, are fundamentally different. The procedure in the TAPE project is limited to a domain-specific topic, whereas the procedure in at professional school is has a bigger scope and is interdisciplinary. They are both evidence-based and even research-based, in particularly in the TAPE project. They use low professional school versus high with TAPE project resources. They both use a multi-step procedure, and the results in both approaches inform the course design in an immediate way. So they're immediately implemented. Several levels, the micro teaching level, the meso, school level, macro level, maybe school district or region, society at large. They are considered, but they are considered to different degrees, but they've got one aim in common. The aim of professional development in both cases is to provide effective uptake that's likely to result in enhanced professional practice and therefore in professional development. And this brings me to the last slide. We're thanking you. Thank you for your attention. Stay safe. Bonne journée.